The night before my wedding, a massive fire killed my parents, yet my fiancé was in the blaze, wrapped around his mistress, utterly consumed by passion. 7 months pregnant, I heard my fiancé with my own ears say, "The child must be killed. My offspring can only be born by Jessica." It wasn't until I broke open the secret compartment in the study that I discovered the remnants of the sky lantern that had vanished from the fire scene years ago. It turned out to be the token of love my husband gave to his mistress. My husband used the opportunity to swallow up most of my family's fortune, replacing me, the bride, with his mistress. That fire. But when all of this fell upon me, I completely lost control. In the study, just beyond a door, David spoke of Jessica, his voice filled with regret. I felt struck by lightning. Before I could recover, I heard David's cold voice. "When we get a chance, bribe a doctor to make it a stillborn. Jessica will be unhappy if she finds out." As for Sarah, she had a massive hemorrhage from a previous miscarriage, so she wasn't really suited for pregnancy anyway. If the child is stillborn, she won't suspect a thing. The voice on the other side rose an octave. "David, are you insane? That's your flesh and blood. Jessica is already married to someone else. He doesn't love you at all, why are you doing this?" David said forlornly, "What does it matter? As long as Jessica is happy, I don't care what happens to me." Chris, David's friend, sounded helpless. "Sarah will find out sooner or later. Have you thought about it? Her parents were burned to death by Jessica. That's 2 lives. Now you're even going to kill your own child. Aren't you afraid she'll hate you and Jessica? Are you really willing to risk everything for Jessica?" David remained silent, cigarette ash falling onto his hand. He flinched, then became even more resolute. "Then she must never know. I'll spend my whole life making it up to her." David appeared when I was at my most desperate, swearing to take care of me for the rest of his life. Given our years of friendship, I believed him. I entrusted the handling of the wedding fire completely to him. It wasn't long before he told me the fire was caused by aging electrical wiring and my parents died in an accident. Just as I was starting to emerge from my grief, David, the man I loved to my core, was plotting how to kill our child. For years of marriage, and I realized I had never truly seen the man I slept beside. I had been living in the dream he meticulously wove for me. Under the guise of salvation, he pushed me into another layer of hell. I ran aimlessly into the street. After wandering for I don't know how long, I collapsed on the roadside. In the moment before losing consciousness, I felt a faint sense of relief. I woke up in the hospital. David's eyes were bloodshot, his voice choked. "Sarah, you scared me to death. Running out in the heavy rain, don't you know how dangerous that is? What would I do if something happened to you and the baby?" His eyes red-rimmed, he held me tightly, the force almost suffocating. But I felt no warmth at all. Tears silently streamed down my face, and I felt cold to the bone. Not knowing what to do, he frantically wiped the tears from my face. "Don't scare me, why are you crying? Did I do something to upset you?" He used to ask me this every time he saw me cry. I thought he cared, but I realized it was guilt. "David, did my parents really die in an accidental fire? I want to go visit their gravesites." His pupils flickered for a second, then he forced a smile and comforted me. "Sarah, you're 7 months pregnant now, and it's been raining lately. Visiting gravesites would be too dangerous. I can't let anything happen to you or the baby." My body was icy cold, my heart aching to the point of suffocation, yet I dared not clutch my chest. I held my belly and murmured, "My stomach hurts, David, it hurts so much." He rushed out anxiously to find a doctor, leaving his phone behind. I couldn't help but open it. As expected, the password was Jessica's birthday, and the wallpaper was her little dog. I opened WhatsApp. Jessica was the only person pinned to the top. I scrolled through casually. It was full of David's heartfelt declarations of love. Jessica occasionally replied with a few messages, never refusing him. They constantly hovered on the edge of ambiguity. "Jessica, she's pregnant, I don't want it. How I wish you were the mother of my child." Jessica replied with 2 words. "Go for it." David immediately pledged his devotion. "I won't keep it. I'm sorry, Jessica. I just missed you so much. I was drunk that day and mistook her for you, that's how Sarah ended up getting pregnant. This is the pink diamond necklace I bid on. My apology gift to you." I remembered that necklace. Normally, jewelry sets fetch high prices, but this one was different. Just the necklace alone was over 100 million. It was originally bought by an anonymous billionaire, but I never expected David had bought it to give to Jessica. Footsteps sounded outside the door. Before I could fully process the pain, I quickly put the phone back where I found it. The doctor briefly examined me, pressing a few times, then frowned and gave a diagnosis. I had caught a severe chill in the heavy rain and fallen on my stomach, creating a risk of premature birth. But my stomach hadn't hurt for a while, the pain was something I faked. Since getting pregnant, I had been meticulously careful. I never wore high heels and didn't dare touch makeup. The baby in my belly was also very well behaved and rarely caused me pain. I looked at David in disbelief, their conversation flashing through my mind in an instant. When we get a chance, bribe a doctor to make it a stillborn. My lips trembled, but I couldn't utter a single word. David, does your heart truly not ache? Sure enough, David stayed by my bedside every day, watching me drink the herbal medication he had brewed. It had honey added, yet it tasted bitter to the core of my heart. I knew that every sip of the medication was taking away my child's life. This was the only family I had left in the world. How laughable. Just before drinking the medicine, I was still hoping David would come to his senses, that he would regret it. Even if he knocked over the medicine now and confessed that Jessica was the murderer, I would have given him a chance. But he didn't. He let me swallow the abortion medicine sip after sip. As expected, after only a few doses, my lower abdomen began to ache incessantly, and blood flowed everywhere. The doctor diagnosed that the baby's heartbeat had stopped and that induced labor and subsequent procedure was needed. I was trembling from the pain, my insides felt as if an invisible hand was squeezing them. In my mind, the scene of David saying he would sacrifice everything for Jessica kept replaying. Until the surgery was over, I stared blankly at my flat belly. My body couldn't adapt to his absence. A 7-month-old fetus is already formed, so cute and well-behaved in the ultrasound. I had looked forward to the baby's arrival more than anyone else in the world. But now, he wasn't even worthy of an infant incubator. He was treated as post-surgical waste, dismembered, cut up, and thrown into the trash. He hadn't even had a chance to see this world. The pain in my insides turned numb, and the last vestiges of love were completely consumed. I secretly booked a plane ticket to go overseas. Today was Jessica's return. David had packed early in the morning to host a welcome party for her. At least he remembered to say goodbye to me. Sarah, I left breakfast for you on the table. Something came up at the company, so I'm heading out. I looked at the milk on the table, already cold. I had no desire to drink it. I am lactose intolerant. I was never the one who liked drinking milk. While he was gone, I gathered all the memories of our time together. I even cut up the wedding photos on the wall. After clearing out everything that belonged to me, I realized the house hadn't changed much at all. My belongings were pitifully few, just like my significance in David's heart, almost non-existent. As I finished searching, I couldn't find the last sapphire pendant. It was my mother's relic. I pushed open the study door again. On the bookshelves in the study, there was a whole row of Jessica's wax sculptures. Photos of Jessica were plastered all over the study. There were selfies of Jessica on vacation, and photos taken by David. In the very center was Jessica's wedding photo, cut in half and then painstakingly pieced back together. David had replaced the groom with himself. Although I had already decided to leave, my heart couldn't help but ache at the sight. Everyone said David loved me to his core, that marrying into the Lynn family was a blessing in disguise, that I had found such a wonderful husband. Yet, the woman he thought about day and night, the one he sacrificed everything for, was someone else entirely. I just wanted to find my mother's relic and leave, to get far away from David and never see him again. But unexpectedly, after searching the entire study, I couldn't find any trace of the sapphire pendant. The computer wasn't shut down. Amazon popped up a notification recommending fireproof covers. Since he was a child, David had people taking care of his every need. He never used Amazon himself. Whatever he wanted, his assistant would buy. When did he ever need to shop online himself? My hand trembling, I clicked into David's Amazon purchase history. Kerosene, lighter fluid, fireproof covers. The date, 4 years ago. I sank to the floor. David, you were an accomplice in my parents' death. It's a shame David wasn't an actor. All these years of tender affection, performed so smoothly and flawlessly. I hated him intensely. I dug my fingernails into my palms, blood dripping onto the floor. Suppressing the agony inside, I copied the purchase history. I also found the security footage from a few days ago and saved the recording of David's conversation with Chris to my phone. After backing everything up, I smashed everything in his study. This 4-year-long deception, it was time for it to end. Armed with the evidence, I went to the welcome party to find David. As soon as I entered, I saw David holding a gift box, presenting it to Jessica. David looked at Jessica, his eyes welling up with tears. Jessica, you're finally back. This is my gift to you. Jessica opened the gift box, laughing so hard she shook. Is this a sapphire pendant? The quality is quite good. Will you put it on for me? With pleasure. The moment the sapphire pendant left the box, I immediately realized it was the very one I couldn't find anywhere. My mother's only relic left to me. I pushed through the crowd and rushed over, but I was still half a step too late. I watched helplessly as David placed the sapphire pendant around Jessica's neck. A flicker of surprise crossed David's eyes. Sarah, what are you doing here? Don't misunderstand, Jessica just returned, and I'm her only friend here. Long time no see, Sarah. How are your parents? Were they saved? My parents' death was already a pain in my heart, but now, it was brought up by their murderer. Provoked, my eyes turned red. I rushed forward and pushed Jessica, trying to snatch back the sapphire pendant. But I had just undergone the induced labor and subsequent procedure, my body was weak. I couldn't even budge her. David pulled me away, shielding Jessica, and demanded in a harsh voice what I was doing. I fell to the ground, trembling as I pointed at the sapphire pendant around Jessica's neck. David, that's my sapphire pendant. David's expression froze for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. Sarah, don't make a scene. You just pushed Jessica, so let's consider that pendant compensation for Jessica. I'll buy you another one later. I was shaking with rage. That's my mother's relic. David. It's the only thing I have left of my mother. Jessica held on to the troubled David, took off the sapphire pendant from her neck, and reached out to give it to me. I'm sorry, Sarah, I didn't know your parents had died. Since this is a relic, it's a keepsake. Here, take it back. Just as I got up and reached out to take it, she let go. The sapphire pendant slipped past my fingertips. I didn't even have time to catch the chain. Shatter. The sapphire pendant fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. I trembled, unable to believe my eyes, then swung my hand and slapped Jessica hard across the face. David quickly checked Jessica's face, leaving me to break down right there. Sarah. You've gone too far. Jessica was giving the pendant back, and you still hit her. I couldn't spare him a glance. I groped on the ground for the fragments of the sapphire pendant, letting my hands be cut and bleed profusely. David's eyes widened. He was anxious to come and help me up. Jessica pulled him back, saying pitifully how much the slap hurt. David hesitated for a few seconds, then still had his assistant escort me out of the welcome party hall. Clutching the sapphire fragments in my hand, I turned and went to the airport. Before leaving, I sent all the evidence to my lawyer. Meanwhile, David returned home but didn't see me. A wave of panic washed over him, as if he had lost something. He quickly sent me messages. Sarah, where are you? I didn't know that was your mother's relic. Please don't be angry, okay? I'll buy you a new sapphire pendant as a gift. I turned and boarded the plane, leaving just one message. I've prepared a gift for you too. David had just let out a sigh of relief, but in the next second, he saw traces of my presence in the study. His face instantly turned ashen. Seeing the photos scattered everywhere and the wax sculptures toppled over, the veins on David's forehead pulsed. Was this Sarah's gift to him? He pulled out his phone, wanting to send frantic, abusive messages to me. But the words died on his lips, he didn't know how to begin. What a joke. Was he supposed to explain that Jessica's photos, those wax sculptures, revealed just how many hidden, unspeakable thoughts he'd harbored for Jessica? In that moment, David's heart ached terribly. He suddenly realized how heartbreaking and painful it is to have something you care about destroyed by someone else. He cautiously sent me a message, testing the waters. Wife, have you been in my study? Several WhatsApp messages vanished like stones dropped into the sea. His face grew paler and paler. Then he frantically started calling my phone. Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently switched off. He stared blankly at everything in the study. He didn't even notice when his secretary arrived with Jessica. Seeing David sitting amidst the chaos in the study, Jessica covered her mouth, her beautiful eyes shimmering. David, you actually kept so many photos of me. I'm really touched. I was so careless today. I apologize. Jessica helped David up from the floor. Seeing he didn't respond, she asked gently what was wrong. David's face was grim. After a long pause, he finally looked up and explained. What are you doing here? Jessica smiled and picked up the pieced-together wedding photo from the floor. I originally came to apologize to Sarah. Although she didn't catch it properly, I'm also responsible for the sapphire pendant getting broken. But I didn't expect you would love me this much. David ignored the photo, showing no embarrassment at being exposed. You don't need to apologize. I'll compensate her for the sapphire pendant. I'll compensate Sarah on your behalf. Can you help me look for Sarah? She's gone. Jessica chuckled lightly. Oh come on, Sarah is just throwing a tantrum. You've been together for so long, don't you understand her by now? I understand girls like her best. She's just jealous that you always give me gifts, so she disappeared and isn't answering your calls to scare you. Honestly, this kind of behavior is so immature. How can she be so inconsiderate? If you ask me, she doesn't even work, why doesn't she focus more on the family? For once, David didn't feel sorry for Jessica. Instead, memories of our time together flashed in his mind. I had been considerate of him so many times, yet he often neglected me, not even bothering to give me gifts. Jessica's manipulative words continued, but David suddenly realized. He realized that my belongings had vanished sometime without him noticing. In the bathroom, my pink toothbrush holder was gone, just like me. David's expression turned cold. His eyes red-rimmed, he looked at Jessica, his heart terribly troubled. All right, stop talking. Sarah isn't like that. Jessica's eyes instantly turned red. She hugged the photo to her chest. David, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I was just afraid her tantrums would hurt you. As for what happened to her parents back then, it was an accident. I just wanted to help two good friends light sky lanterns. We even took fire precautions. I never thought it would. David, I can take a new photo with you, so you don't have to piece it together. Please don't be mad at me, okay? That fire had always been a pain in his heart. He knew Jessica wanted to release sky lanterns. He had even helped buy the materials. But only he believed Jessica was innocent. However, when he handled the evidence, he couldn't find the remnants of the sky lantern. All the evidence pointed to Jessica, but for the sake of their past relationship, he chose to help her conceal it. Remembering my shattered expression and bleeding fingers at the welcome party. For a moment, he was shaken. For the first time, he felt a sense of disgust towards Jessica. He snatched the photo from Jessica's arms and tore it into tiny pieces. That photo is from many years ago. I admit I had feelings for you, which is why I helped you conceal it. But now, I just want to live a good life with Sarah. He firmly asked Jessica to leave the house, his heart filled with thoughts of me. He secretly planned for the future, deciding that when I returned, he would definitely hire the best jewelry repair expert for me. Standing amidst the ruins of the study, it felt as though a new beginning had arrived. The plane landed. I turned on my phone, and messages from David poured in like raindrops. Sarah, when are you coming home? I miss you so much. Sarah, you didn't come back all night, I'm so worried about you. I'm sorry about what happened at the welcome party, I'll make it up to you. What kind of sapphire pendant would you like? Jessica and I never had anything before, and we won't have anything in the future. Did you misunderstand? Every single message, without exception, was deflecting from his own issues. Blaming me, blaming my parents, blaming my ex-husband, blaming Jessica, blaming everyone but himself. I felt waves of nausea reading them and immediately deleted his WhatsApp contact. I was about to call my lawyer back home to check on the case progress, so he wouldn't keep bothering me, but I didn't expect David's call to come through just then. Sarah, you finally answered. I've been calling you all day. David's voice was aggrieved and choked. How could you run off right after the induced labor and subsequent procedure, without caring about your body? When are you coming back? His brazenness was utterly baffling to me. I sighed and asked him softly. Didn't you look in the study? How can you still say things like this to me? David's voice trembled with panic. I went to the study, and there's really nothing between Jessica and me. I admit I used to have feelings for her, but I realized the person I truly love is you. I won't have any contact with her anymore. Sarah, believe me. Let's have a good life together, okay? I scoffed coldly, kindly reminding him. On the computer. What? David didn't understand. The gift I sent you is on the computer. David scrambled and rushed to the computer. The moment the screen lit up, his body trembled, his mouth slightly agape in shock. He hadn't expected that it would show his online shopping history, along with the recording of that conversation. Even the test results of the medication residue from the hospital were there. Every single piece of evidence was meticulously detailed, almost crushing him. He was trembling, still trying to explain to me. But from his broken murmuring, I heard that he had seen it. All the truths he had concealed were laid bare before me and him. I responded coldly, no need to explain. Let's get a divorce. Then I hung up, ignored him completely, and blocked his number. David collapsed to the floor. He hadn't expected that after 4 years, I could still bring the truth to light. Just as he finally realized who he loved, fate played a cruel trick on him. His face was pale. His hand trembling, he called Chris. Help me check if Sarah has any hotel records from the past couple of days. Hotel records? What's wrong? Sarah, she found out about the past. She misunderstood me as the murderer. She just had the induced labor and subsequent procedure, her body is weak, I need to find her quickly. The other end was silent for a long time, then sighed. David, why are you doing this to yourself? When you were together, you didn't value her, and only realized her worth after she left. When will you ever change this habit? Alright, I'll try my best to check for you, but don't get your hopes up. At the very least, you were an accomplice in the murder of her parents. Now that she knows, she won't want to see you. While David was searching the world for me, I was strolling on the streets overseas. The sapphire fragments in my hand hadn't been repaired yet. I casually found a jewelry repair shop. I had my mother's relic pieced together and set into a completely new Western-style necklace. Mom had always wanted to travel overseas, but due to her profession, her travel was restricted, so she could only stay in Maplewood City her whole life. If this relic was Mom's eyes seeing the world, I imagine she would be happy to know. I walked on the streets overseas for I don't know how long. The sky turned overcast. I raised my hand to check the time and only then noticed the mottled, broken skin and bloodstains on my hands. It was only then I remembered I was injured and needed bandaging and treatment. I suddenly felt a little lost. It seemed that ever since I left the country, I had lost the meaning of life. I didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink, and barely felt any pain. I only wanted to wait for the lawyer's results, to see the people who harmed my parents receive their due punishment. Besides that, what else was there for me to do? I sat outside the hospital, staring blankly. Inside the hospital overseas, a young couple was waiting for a prenatal checkup. The girl was cursing at the boy with extremely harsh language. After eavesdropping for a while, I learned the full story. During her pregnancy, the girl found out the man had cheated. And he was planning to drug her to cause an abortion. You know, abortion is illegal overseas. The girl was worried she had already been drugged, which is why she came for the prenatal checkup. But clearly, that foreign girl hadn't been crushed by the man's change of heart. On the contrary, she was full of energy. I curiously asked the nurse why. The nurse rolled her eyes at the man and explained to me with a smile. This man is the guilty party. If they divorce, the woman will get a large portion of his assets. What's more, with a child, the child will get a portion too. This girl's family is very wealthy, she doesn't care about his money at all, but what she's entitled to, she'll take every single penny. When you love, love fiercely. When you don't forget to fight for what you deserve. It was then that I had an epiphany. David and I were definitely getting a divorce, no matter how much I didn't want to deal with him. I had to get back what was rightfully mine first. This was what David owed me. I quickly called my lawyer back home to consult on marital issues. If I can prove that David married me to destroy evidence and evade legal responsibility, would that constitute marriage fraud? After getting the lawyer's confirmation, I finally smiled. Okay, then I want to sue David for marriage fraud and request the annulment of our marriage. No problem, Miss Sarah, but you will need to return to the country for the litigation. I returned to the country with my new necklace. I hadn't expected that after only visiting my first stop overseas, I'd be back on familiar soil. After quickly booking a hotel, I was about to go meet my lawyer to confirm the litigation schedule, but David suddenly blocked the hotel entrance. The moment he saw me, he cornered me against the wall like a madman. Sarah, I finally found you. I've had no news from you these past few days, I was going crazy. He held a pink diamond necklace out to me. He looked up, his eyes showing the exhaustion and weariness of days of searching. I'm sorry, I can really explain. Jessica wanted to celebrate your wedding that day and asked me to help buy materials. She wanted to release sky lanterns, which is what caused the fire. I truly can't live without you. I've been doing terribly these past few days, absolutely terribly. Only then did I notice his face was covered in stubble. He looked no different from a homeless person, and this homeless person was holding a pink diamond necklace worth over 100 million, trying to give it to me. This is compensation for you. Jessica broke your sapphire pendant, so I got this necklace back to compensate you. Sarah, I truly know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I looked at the familiar necklace but didn't reach out to take it. I felt only immense insult. Isn't that the one you gave to Jessica? Do you think your feelings for her are comparable to my parents'? I didn't mean it like that. You're so fond of compensating on Jessica's behalf, why don't you go to jail for Jessica then? Or are you still too afraid to admit the fact that Jessica committed arson and murder? Faced with my aggression, he closed his eyes, stumbled backward, and fell to the ground. I looked down at his ruined appearance, utterly different from the elegant and distinguished Mr. David I once knew. All right then, if you can produce a single remnant of the sky lantern from that day, I'll admit you weren't intentional. In the end, he couldn't deceive himself. His panicked retreat looked utterly pathetic. Not long after, the Lin Group and the Zheng Corporation, where Jessica worked, dissolved their alliance. Even at the cost of massive breach of contract penalties, they completely cancelled all cooperation projects. And they announced that as long as Daniel didn't divorce Jessica and Jessica wasn't blacklisted, cooperation would be impossible. Smaller companies caught in the middle, unwilling to get involved in the conflict between the two powerful families, withdrew their investments one after another. But with so many smaller companies withdrawing, their combined impact wasn't insignificant. I understood David less and less. I left, and he continued to be Jessica's sycophant, wanting Jessica to divorce. That I could understand, but blacklisting Jessica? What kind of move was that? Before I could figure out his strategy, Daniel and Jessica indeed got divorced. Jessica was also blacklisted by the industry and could only work as a clerk at the lowest level. David kept calling me from different numbers, wanting to take credit. It was endlessly annoying. I set my phone to reject calls from unknown numbers. He kept sending me texts in different ways. Hundreds of messages daily, begging for reconciliation. I found it utterly repulsive. I had no choice but to change my phone number. I never expected that before the court proceedings were even finished, David would lose his mind. Jessica found David and threw herself into his arms, feigning distress. David, I know you've always loved me, but you didn't have to take such drastic measures to force Daniel and me to divorce. You already have Sarah, can't you just let me go? I don't want to disturb your lives anymore. She said she wanted him to let her go, but her whole body was leaning into David's embrace. Normally, David would have gently comforted her. But now, he gripped Jessica's shoulders coldly. He looked down seriously and asked her, "Did you deliberately set the fire that killed Sarah's parents?" Jessica panicked, her eyes darting everywhere. Of course not. Did Sarah say something to you? She's always good at pretending to be pitiful. She just wants to play the victim to you. Back then, I just wanted to release sky lanterns to celebrate. I truly didn't expect it would cause a big fire. She cried tears like falling rain, but David wouldn't be deceived by her anymore. David released her shoulders and looked down at her from above. Jessica, you truly thought I was a fool, playing me for so many years, and you still want to keep playing me. My lawyer told me David had contacted him and was willing to cooperate with the investigation into the previous fire case. With the party involved participating and providing evidence, the lawsuit process accelerated considerably. When he saw me again, his movements were cautious, shielding me from the crowd. He also tried hard to restrain himself from coming closer to me. In court, Jessica cried miserably, trying to get protection from Daniel, but David had already discussed future cooperation matters with Daniel. As long as he told the truth about the fire case. It turned out Jessica wanted to marry Daniel and had made an agreement that the Zhang family could take over more than half of my family's assets. But Daniel was unaware of Jessica's entire premeditation and setup for the arson. Even the tools for starting the fire were bought by David. But when the fire started and he learned my parents had died in it, he immediately knew his chance had arrived. And he proceeded with his arrangement with Jessica as agreed. He, Daniel, was completely inactive throughout, unaware, merely suspecting Jessica was the murderer. But suspicion cannot be used as grounds for conviction, it only showcased his nature as a businessman driven by profit. But David still managed to extract a chunk from him, securing 20% of the Zhang family's shares for me, considerably more than what he had taken from my family originally. Jessica's last support also collapsed. For malicious arson resulting in death, she was sentenced to a full 11 years. David was also sentenced to 1 year and 3 months for aiding in the purchase of arson tools and for knowingly concealing and destroying evidence. He smiled with a sense of relief. "Sarah, are you satisfied now?" I shook my head. His gaze instantly darkened. I exchanged a look with my lawyer. The lawyer immediately proposed, "This case is related to an illegal act of marriage fraud." According to the evidence presented by the plaintiff, David established a marital relationship with Miss Sarah in order to destroy evidence. There is a case for marriage fraud here. With the lawyer's efforts, I received half of David's assets and the marriage was annulled. David was half heartbroken, half relieved. "Sarah, now there's nothing left I hid from you. Can we start over?" I remained silent for a moment. "There's no need. Now when I see you, I only see the image of my parents dying. I can't love you anymore. We won't have anything to do with each other ever again. I only ask that you never appear in my life again." He looked completely shattered and simply murmured, "Okay." After that, I never heard any news of him again. Even after he was released from prison, no information about him reached me. He finally did the one thing he promised me at the end. As for me, I took my mother's relic and traveled the world, for my parents and my child. To see this world once more. A grand world, overflowing with life and beauty.